Our many blessings. We'd ask your blessing on the men and women of our armed services serving throughout the world to protect our freedoms. Be with them and watch over them. We also give thanks this evening, Lord, and ask for your blessing on all the volunteers that serve us in Frederick County with their time, their talents, and their all. Watch over them and care for them. We ask this evening that you guide and direct us in our work for the citizens of Frederick County. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Vice Chairman Ewing, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Please stand and face the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adoption of the agenda, Mr. Riley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are no additions.
Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion by Supervisor DeHaven. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Second by Supervisor Ewing. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The agenda is adopted. Consent agenda, Mr. Riley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd offer the following tab F, which is a resolution of support for the Lord Fairfax Emergency Medical Services Council.
Any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Supervisor Collins. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Chairman.
Second by Supervisor Fisher. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The consent agenda is approved. Citizen comments, agenda items only. Mr. Riley, anyone sign up?
No, sir.
Board of Supervisors comments, are there any? All right, we'll move on to the minutes of the budget work session, September the 26th, 2012.
Mr. Chairman, move for approval as submitted.
We have a motion by Supervisor DeHaven to approve. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Second by Supervisor Ewing. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The minutes of the budget work session, September 26, 2012 were approved. Next, we have a special employee recognition that we would like to do. Supervisor Ewing. The United Way kicked off its fundraising session with the annual Day of Caring, a massive community give-back bringing employers together to lend a helping hand. This year, Frederick County formed its first team and participated in this event. Our team included employees from the Animal Shelter, Commissioner of Revenue's Office, County Administration, County Attorney's Office, Economic Development Commission, Department of Planning and Development, and the Northwestern Regional Adult Detention Center. These employees spent an entire day cleaning the Abacare building located on Weems Lane in Winchester. They power washed the building and sidewalks, dug up flower beds and replanted them, cut trees and shrubbery. They also worked inside the building cleaning doors and windows, and what a difference it did make. The Board of Supervisors would like to take this opportunity to recognize the team members by presenting them with a certificate of appreciation. As I call your name, would you please come forward? Douglas Alger. Thank you. Felicia Andre. Thank you. Donald Offorth. Melissa Bailey. Thank you. Tammy Bickert. Thank you. Pamela Dieter. Naomi Espinal. Thank you. Wendy May. Cameron Newland. Monika Rittenauer. Why didn't I say that correctly? I'm sorry. Thank you. Kathy Wetzel. Thank you. On behalf of the board, we thank you for participating in this year's United Way Annual Day of Caring. Committee appointments. Community Policy and Management Team, parent representative. Looks like we have applications still waiting to receive.
Yes, sir.
Extension Leadership Council, same thing, correct?
Yes, sir.
Extension Service recommends the appointment of Hester McKay. So we have an application for Hester McKay as a member of the Extension Service. Heather? It sure is. Excuse me. My apologies to her. Heather McKay.
Mr. Chairman,
Pleasure.
I would recommend approval of that recommendation.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Second by Supervisor Collins. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Heather McKay is appointed to the Extension Service Board. All right, Shawnee Land Sanitary District Advisory Committee. It looks like Supervisor Lofton, you have a nominee.
Yes, sir, I do. Thought we had all these caught up, but Ms. Tammy Furr has decided she no longer wanted to serve on that committee. So I did get a couple of applications, talked to them, and I would like to submit the name of Lynn Schmidt to serve on the Shawnee Land Sanitary District Advisory Committee.
All right, we have a motion to appoint Lynn Schmidt to the Shawnee Land Sanitary Advisory District Advisory Committee. Words are trouble tonight. Is there a second to that motion?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Second by Supervisor Spicer. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Lynn Schmidt is hereby appointed to the Shawnee Sanitary District Advisory Committee. Don't believe we're ready for Board of Equalization. Board of Zoning Appeals of Pekin, are we ready?
Not ready yet, Mr. Chairman.
In Chapter 10 Board, that looks like we need to find someone.
I apologize to the board for that. I mistakenly understood that Mr. Ashton wanted to be reappointed, but he had a conflict and could not, so we will be actively searching.
We have 3 seats at large, I guess,
Yes, sir.
and 1 vacancy. So if anyone knows of someone interested in Chapter 10, we can post it on the website and add it to the list of people we're searching for.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That concludes the committee appointments. Next is the 2013 legislative program. Mr. Riley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll offer the following legislative priorities for the board's consideration. As the board is familiar with this subject, a number of these legislative priorities have been on this list before, and it is recommended that we continue to pursue those. There are several items on the list that are new that we are asking for support for. The first is eminent domain and asking for Frederick County to support its passage as currently written and will be on the ballot this fall as a constitutional amendment. Primarily, the change in the eminent domain legislature stresses that it only be used for property taken or damaged for public use only, and to define what is included for just compensation. As the board is familiar, the eminent domain as it is currently written does allow for the exercise of the taking of property for economic development or business purposes, which this amendment would eliminate. Under sovereign immunity, item number 5, paragraph A, Frederick County would like to support the passage of House Bill 1138, which would amend and reenact the Code of Virginia relating to the use of depositions as a basis for summary judgment. This bill would allow parties to litigation in the Virginia state court system to use the deposition testimony as a basis for a court decision in advance of a trial in cases in which the material facts are not genuinely in dispute. Significantly, this bill would help to a distinct advantage Virginia's pro-business climate by creating a greater opportunity for Virginia businesses to limit the litigation cost and the risk of trial in the present system. And then finally, the board is familiar with this, but we are asking that the relaxation of the rollback tax be considered. And basically what this is, the current requirement of the law discourages landowners whose properties are in land use taxation program from rezoning their properties when such rezonings would otherwise help to create an inventory of properties that are already approved for development and therefore more attractive to business development. Frederick County believes that to help encourage business development, an amendment is appropriate so that the rollback taxes do not become due on a property at the time of rezoning, but instead only become due at the time that the actual use of the property changes. Those are the new items on the legislative priorities, and it's the pleasure of the board. We would ask that you adopt these priorities, and staff will work with our legislative representatives in Richmond to pursue these.
Questions?
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Lofton.
On item 7, increased local authority, I see that we're going to again ask for relaxation of the Dillon rule, and I probably know what our chances are of that happening. In any great extent, is there any other measure we can use to relieve ourselves of the Dillon rule? I know there's other states that have home rule and Dillon rule, and I was just wondering if there's another tack that we can use so that we don't have to keep going back to the state asking for relaxation of their authority to increase our authority to do things like increase taxes that cities and towns have the pleasure of doing.
I think if we are in another state other than Virginia, that may be possible.
I was looking around, I noticed other states did have a mix of home rule and Dillon rule, and I would like to think maybe we can look into maybe joining with other counties or something to try and, like I say, find a way to take us out from under the thumb of what I think is a pretty harsh rule, and that the state doesn't believe that we can regulate ourselves, and that we ought to have some other way except going back to them from time to time, asking them, oh, please, can we do this?
Well, I think the worst example of the whole thing is when we have to ask the legislature, can we ask our citizens in a referendum, do they want to do something? That's the worst of it. But I haven't given up. I believe that every once in a while I hear a new voice in Richmond that seems to be the other way, and I do believe it'll happen one day.
I certainly hope so.
To tell counties that they can't do what cities can do is just, it's an argument that cannot be defended. No. But I don't know what else we can do except continue to talk to our representatives.
I just wanted to throw that out there. If there's any chance or there's any other options, I'd certainly like to hear it.
Mr. Chairman, when I read this on the agenda, I looked around to see if Harrington Smith was still on the board. I don't know how many years Harrington fought to get this changed. Never succeeded, but
He's watching you, Mr. Ewing.
Well, the difference between this day and that day is they wouldn't even gauge the conversation, and now they say, yeah, I know what you mean. What that means as far as a change, I don't know. Other questions on the legislative agenda? We'd like to go for adoption if it suits the board.
Mr. Chairman, I move for adoption of the resolution supporting the Virginia property
That was
rights.
just one piece of it.
Oh, I'm sorry. 2013 legislative priorities.
Okay,
Accept
we
it
have
as
a motion to adopt the legislative priorities. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Second by Supervisor DeHaven. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Now, we do have a resolution. I think it'd be appropriate to, even though it is one of the priorities. Mr. Riley, would you introduce the resolution?
Yes, sir. I'm a tab ahead of you, and I can't get back fast enough on this thing. This is a resolution supporting the adoption of the Virginia Property Rights Amendment, whereas the founding fathers and framers of the Constitution of the United States recognized the right to private property as a fundamental mark of a free person, and whereas James Madison declared that government is instituted to protect property, Thomas Jefferson termed the protection of private property the first principle of association, the guarantee to everyone of a free exercise of his industry and the fruits acquired by it, and John Adams affirmed that property is surely a right of mankind as real as liberty. And whereas the U.S. Supreme Court held in Calo v. City of New London that government may seize the homes, small businesses, and other private property of one owner and transfer that property to another private owner on the grounds that such a transfer would benefit the community through greater economic development, and whereas the Frederick County Board of Supervisors believes the right of private property is fundamental to the individual liberty and an important guarantee of freedom, and whereas the Frederick County Board of Supervisors affirms that the power of eminent domain should be limited to true instances of public use, such as roads, utilities, public facilities, and similar projects benefiting the public as a whole, and the government taking should not be used for private economic development purposes. And whereas the Virginia General Assembly adopted Senate Joint Resolution 3 and companion legislation to enshrine property rights in the Constitution of Virginia and establish that eminent domain may only be used for true public use, and that owners must receive just compensation for property taken, including compensation for losses incurred by the taking beyond the assessed value of the property taken. And whereas the Virginia Property Rights Amendment will come before the voters for ratification as part of the November 12 election ballot, now therefore be it resolved that the Frederick County Board of Supervisors does hereby support the adoption of the Virginia Property Rights Amendment and encourages its ratification by the voters of Frederick County on November 6, 2012, adopted this 10th day of October, 2012.
Questions for Mr. Riley? Can I have a motion to adopt this resolution?
I would so move, Chairman.
I have a motion by Supervisor Spicer and a second by Supervisor Lofton. Discussion. I would only like to add that I hope the citizens of Frederick County respond as the board has. And at one time, I thought the Constitution protected property owners in Virginia against such things, and then as I saw them be shown to me in publications, I became a quick supporter, had no idea. So, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The resolution is approved. Next is a request from the Commissioner of Revenue for refunds. Mr. Riley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The county attorney is in receipt of the commissioner's request dated September 13, 2012, to authorize the treasurer to refund SunTrust Equipment Finance the amount of $8,944.34 for removal of a construction crane mistakenly reported to Frederick County. The crane is housed in Spotsylvania County. This exoneration is for the entire year 2012 because the company had prepaid the second half. Pursuant to the provisions of Section 58.1398(1)A of the Code of Virginia, it is respectfully requested that the Board of Supervisors act on this request.
Questions? Is there a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, move for approval of the refund to SunTrust Equipment Finances.
We have a motion by Supervisor Ewing. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Second by Supervisor DeHaven. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, let me back up. Supervisor Spicer. Supervisor Collins.
Aye.
Supervisor Fisher.
Aye.
Supervisor Ewing.
Aye.
Supervisor DeHaven.
Aye.
Supervisor Lofton.
Aye.
Chair votes aye and the motion passes.
The next item, Mr. Chairman, is a request that the county attorney is in receipt of the commissioner's request dated September 19th, 2012, to authorize the treasurer to refund Pest Management Services, Inc., the amount of $6,004.43 for removal of vehicles located in another jurisdiction and mistakenly reported to Frederick County. We do have all locally assigned vehicles taxed here, and pursuant to the code section as indicated, it's respectfully requested that the board act on same.
Questions? Hearing none.
Mr. Chairman, move for approval of Pest Management Services Incorporated refund.
We have a motion to approve by Supervisor Ewing. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Second by Supervisor DeHaven. Discussion? Hearing none. Supervisor Lofton.
Aye.
Supervisor DeHaven.
Aye.
Supervisor Ewing.
Aye.
Supervisor Fisher.
Aye.
Supervisor Collins.
Aye.
Supervisor Spicer. Chair votes aye and the motion passes. That concludes our tab E. Next is the Lake Holiday Sanitary District Dam Working Committee. Mr. Tierney, are you going to do that?
I can. Mr. Chairman, the Sanitary District Working Committee met on September 25th. There's one item that would require board action, and that has to do with the Lake Holiday Sanitary District tax rates for the coming year. The committee discussed the current rates and were provided information on collections as of August 30th of this year in comparison with collections the same time the previous year. And it was the committee's recommendation that the board leave the current rates in place for 2013. I'd be happy to try and answer any questions if you have them.
Questions for Mr. Tierney? Hearing none, Supervisor Spicer, would you like to take the lead?
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I would move that the board approve the rate structure in place now for the next year. That would be $678 for buildable lots and $264 for membership lots.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Second by Supervisor Collins. Discussion. Hearing none. Supervisor Spicer?
Aye.
Supervisor Collins?
Aye.
Supervisor Fisher?
Aye.
Supervisor Ewing?
Aye.
Supervisor DeHaven?
Aye.
Supervisor Lofton?
Aye.
Chair votes aye and the motion passes. Does that conclude your report, Mr. Tierney?
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll move on to public hearing. Outdoor festival permit request at Belle Grove Plantation. Mr. Riley?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an outdoor festival permit request for Belle Grove Plantation, Belle Grove Wine Festival and Antiques Appraisal Fair, and this is pursuant to the Frederick County Code, Chapter 86 Festivals, Section 86-3, that a permit is required. This is an outdoor festival permit that will be held on Saturday and Sunday, November 3rd and 4th of 2012, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. each day on the grounds of Belle Grove Plantation, 336 Belle Grove Road, Middletown, Virginia. Property is owned by the National Trust for Historic Preservation. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them, and the applicant is present.
Did the applicant wish to speak?
Thank you very much. I earlier this evening submitted to Mr. Tibbs the printed program for the event. I also spoke to Mr. Riley. We submitted our application for our ABC license early last month and have not gotten it yet. So we called today and they said it should be here next week. So we hope for a great day and a great festival. Thanks for your support.
Any questions for the applicant? Thank you, ma'am. Supervisor Lofton?
Public hearing?
No, I'm sorry, public hearing. All right, we now conduct the public hearing. Is there anyone here who would like to speak either for or against the outdoor festival permit request of Belle Grove Plantation, Belle Grove Wine Festival, and Antiques Appraisal Fair pursuant to the Frederick County Code, Chapter 86 Festivals, Section 86.3? A permit is required for an outdoor festival permit. The festival is to be held on Saturday and Sunday, November 3rd and 4th, 2012, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. each day on the grounds of Belle Grove Plantation, 336 Belle Grove Road, Middletown, Virginia, property owned by the National Trust for Historic Preservation. Is there anyone who would like to speak either for or against this outdoor festival permit? Seeing no one, will close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I have heard of no adverse impact on the adjoining property owners or on the public roadways used by this event. This appears to be another of the popular events that showcases the historic property where it is held. Therefore, I would move to approve the outdoor festival permit for the Belle Grove Wine Festival and Antiques Appraisal Fair.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Second by Supervisor Ewing. Discussion. Hearing none. Supervisor Lofton.
Aye.
Supervisor DeHaven.
Aye.
Supervisor Ewing.
Aye.
Supervisor Fisher.
Aye.
Supervisor Collins.
Aye.
Supervisor Spicer.
Aye.
Chairman votes aye, and the outdoor festival permit is approved. Next is an ordinance to amend the Frederick County Code, Chapter 7, Elections. Mr. Riley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, this is an ordinance to amend the Frederick County Code, Chapter 7, Elections, Article 1, Magisterial Districts, Section 7.3, Central Absentee Voting Precinct. The purpose of this proposed amendment is to make the central absentee voting precinct for all elections to be held at the Frederick County Administration Building, 107 North Kent Street, Winchester, Virginia. If you have any questions, I believe the registrar is present.
The registrar would like to speak. Are there any questions for the registrar or Mr. Riley? All right, if there are none, then we'll conduct a public hearing. This is a public hearing to consider an ordinance to amend the Frederick County Code, Chapter 7, Elections, Article 1, Magisterial Districts, Section 7.3, Central Absentee Voting Precinct. Purpose of this proposed amendment is to make the central absentee voting precinct for all elections to be held at the Frederick County Administration Building, 107 North Kent Street, Winchester, Virginia. Is there anyone here who would like to speak either for or against this ordinance to amend? Seeing no one, will close the public hearing. It's a pleasure of the board.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that the board authorize the proposed ordinance amendment of the Frederick County Code, Chapter 7, Elections, Article 1, Magisterial Districts, Section 7-3, Central Absentee Voting Precinct, as outlined in our package of materials.
All right, we have a motion to approve by Supervisor Spicer. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Second by Supervisor Fisher. Any discussion? Hearing none. Supervisor Spicer.
Aye.
Supervisor Collins.
Aye.
Supervisor Fisher.
Aye.
Supervisor Ewing.
Aye.
Supervisor DeHaven.
Aye.
Supervisor Lofton.
Aye.
Chairman votes aye, and the ordinance to amend is approved. Next is an ordinance to amend the Frederick County Code to repeal in its entirety current Article 2 stopping, standing, and parking, etc. Mr. Riley, or?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll read the ordinance, and then if the chairman of Code and Ordinance wants to take it from there, I'll certainly yield to him. This is an ordinance to amend the Frederick County Code to repeal in its entirety Article 2, stopping, standing, and parking of Chapter 158, Vehicles and Traffic, and enact a new Article 2, stopping, standing, and parking. The purpose of this proposed amendment is to modify existing and designate certain additional parking prohibitions and to designate the corresponding fines for violations to those prohibitions, to modify the procedure for issuance, processing, and the prosecution of citations for violation, and to modify provisions regarding prohibition of solicitation of alms on streets, highways, and certain rights-of-ways, regarding solicitations and/or sales to persons in motor vehicles on streets, highways, and certain rights-of-way. And again, I would yield to the chairman of the Code and Ordinance Committee if he has further information.
All right, are there any questions of the Code and Ordinance Committee or Mr. Riley?
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Lofton.
I guess, what is the basis for doing away for the code and putting it back in place? Is that, I'm sure there's a reason for that?
I have to go back to my notes. There were issues with some changes with the state code that we had to then comply with the state code with our local ordinances. Some language changes and such, and that's the reason that we did that. That's the reason we redid the entire section. So we haven't created any new laws. We've just tweaked them to match with what's currently in the Code of Virginia.
Does this allow us for those fines and violations to come to the county and that go to the state?
Correct.
Thank you.
If they don't take them from us.
Other questions? Then we'll conduct the public hearing. The public hearing will be to consider an ordinance to amend the Frederick County Code to repeal in its entirety currently Article 2, stopping, standing, and parking of Chapter 158, vehicles and traffic, and enact a new Article 2, stopping, standing, and parking. The purpose of this proposed amendment is to modify existing and designate certain additional parking prohibitions and to designate the corresponding fines for violations of these prohibitions, to modify the procedures for issuance, processing, and prosecution of citations for violations, and to modify provisions regarding prohibition of solicitation of alms on streets, highways, and certain rights-of-way, and regarding solicitation and/or sales to person in motor vehicles on streets, highways, and certain rights-of-way. Is there anyone here who would like to speak either for or against this ordinance to amend? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion to approve the amended ordinance of Article 2 as written in our package of materials.
All right, we have a motion by Supervisor Collins to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Supervisor Spicer. Discussion? Hearing none. Supervisor Lofton?
Aye.
Supervisor DeHaven?
Aye.
Supervisor Ewing?
Aye.
Supervisor Fisher?
Aye.
Supervisor Collins?
Aye.
Supervisor Spicer?
Aye.
Chairman votes aye, and the motion passes. Next is another public hearing, one to consider the amendment to the 2012-2013 fiscal year budget. Mr. Riley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, members of the Board of Supervisors, tonight we are holding a public hearing for a budget amendment to the 2013 budget in the amount of $3.9 million. Lots of discussion has taken place on how we arrived at that number. Should we have looked at the revenue surplus, the expenditure savings, or both? All of those different views and opinions certainly have legitimacy on how to calculate what could be reapportioned. I would like to take a moment and talk about the big picture, which is how much in total was put back in the general fund, unreserved fund balance at the end of the fiscal year. That number is $13.2 million. In other words, at the end of last fiscal year, as a result of unspent budgeted expenditures and unbudgeted revenue collected, the county increased fund balance by $13.2 million. That amount took our unreserved fund balance from $21 million to $34 million. The mechanics of this $13.2 million surplus is what seems to be getting the attention. We can talk about the $1.5 million windfall that we received from the real estate tax increase. We can talk about our commitment to restore fund balance, and we can talk about what piece of the surplus should even be up for discussion. Those discussions would be of more significance if we were asking for the entire amount to be appropriated. We are not. We are requesting a budget amendment of $3.9 million to provide overdue compensation to our employees and delayed budget amendments that are critical to our operations, like our phone system for the Public Safety Center. One last note. When we held our budget work session 2 weeks ago to discuss this request, it was noted that there could be a more equitable way to give one-time payouts other than a 3% to all employees. We agree. All employees have received a merit evaluation in the last few months, and that merit system will determine the payouts based on each employee's merit score. We thank you for your attention, and I would be more than happy to answer any questions.
Questions of Mr. Riley? If there are none, then we will go to the public hearing. This is a public hearing to consider amendment to the 2012-2013 fiscal year budget pursuant to Section 15.2-2507 of the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended. Board of Supervisors will hold a public hearing to amend the fiscal year 2012-2013 budget to reflect school operating fund supplemental appropriation amount of $2,223,000 for one-time salary supplements. General fund supplemental appropriation amount of $3,900,000 for capital transfers to the school operating fund and one-time salary supplements. Is there anyone here who would like to speak either for or against this budget amendment?
We have a sign-up sheet, Mr. Chairman, and the first person that is signed up is Joy Kirk, who is the Frederick County Education Association President residing in Back Creek.
Good evening. My name is Joy Kirk, and I am the President of the Frederick County Education Association and a resident of the Back Creek District. And I am speaking to you this evening on behalf of the FCEA membership. We are asking that you vote in favor of providing Frederick County Public Schools the surplus funds to offer a one-time 3% bonus to all employees. It has been 5 years since we have seen an increase in our salaries. Allow me to elaborate. We have not seen a cost of living increase or a step in pay scale due to years of service for 5 years, and the prices of daily necessities continue to rise. You need to show the employees that their time, work, and energy are valued and appreciated. We ask you to let the public know our educators and the people who give their lives to public education are valued and respected members of our community. It is time to stand up for public employees. We understand the monies being considered are non-sustainable, and that for that reason, we can only be offered a one-time bonus and not a salary increase. We appreciate Mr. Riley giving consideration to the one-time bonus. However, as we look to the future, we hope you, the board, will consider that a first-year teacher is currently being offered the same salary as a teacher who has been with the school system for 5 years. This cannot continue. We need a salary increase in the future. Now, we need the funds for a one-time bonus. I thank you for considering a vote in favor of providing the surplus funds to Frederick County Public Schools for a one-time 3% bonus. Thank you for your time.
We moved a little fast there. I was going to instruct the audience, no, you're okay, that we're on a 3-minute time limit, please. But things moved too quickly for me. So for those of you, you met the time scale. Mr. Riley next.
The next speaker is John Wright from Redbud District.
And if you would, repeat your name and magisterial district, please.
Yes, sir. John Wright, Redbud District, also president of the Frederick County Professional Firefighter Association. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Board of Supervisors. I thank you for your time. I'm here tonight to ask that you support the proposal to invest $3.9 million in long-time needed projects. I congratulate you on your sound financial stewardship of our county. Frederick County reporting a $13 million revenue surplus is great news. As of the end of FY11, the county's financial situation is stable. The general fund balance has increased approximately 45% from FY02 to FY11. The county has a positive fund balances, and general fund expenditures as a percentage of the general fund balance are well above the Moody's threshold. As a result of the revenue surplus, county administration has put forth a plan to fund county projects that have been delayed or frozen as early as '08. Included in this plan are various public safety projects, including the following. Number one, reinstatement of career development. This policy is a part of the county's employee benefit package. It rewards employees who seek higher education and take on more responsibilities. Unfortunately, the policy was frozen as a result of budget cuts put into place in 2008. This freeze has left half of all current firefighter EMTs serving in the same capacity as others without the recognition that they have earned. This freeze has been cited also as a reason for employees leaving employment with the county. Secondly, the proposal hires 2 new firefighter EMTs that would increase the level of service provided to residents living within the Stevens City Fire Company response area. Stevens City has currently provided 1 career firefighter paramedic for 24 hours and 1 career firefighter EMT Monday through Friday during the daytime. During the evening hours and weekends, staffing from surrounding companies have to respond to provide a driver or additional EMS provider so that a call can be handled. Stevens City is the busiest station in the county, responding to more than 2,000 emergencies every year. Citizens living within that response area should be given the same level of fire and EMS services as other citizens, especially when this company is the busiest. Third, giving county employees a 3% one-time bonus. County employee salaries, as you know, have been stagnant mostly since 2008. The only exception to this is a result of the VRS legislation of 5 for 5. The county was generous enough to see that county employees did not see less take-home pay by making the employee whole, and we thank you for that. Many county employees have also had to take up second and third jobs in order to provide for their families. Fourth, the proposal funding to replace fire and rescue and sheriff's department vehicles. Some county vehicles used by these departments have become a safety concern due to age, mileage, and mechanical issues. Our deputies and firefighters need reliable equipment so that they are able to perform their job and keep our community safe. Lastly, this proposal provides funding for the Fire and Rescue Association Capital Improvement Fund. The association, in an effort to lessen the damage caused by budget cuts, have borrowed funds for their capital improvement fund. The proposal replaces those funds, however, we need to discuss the bigger issue at hand. Volunteer companies now receive, may I continue?
Almost finished.
I'm very close. Volunteer companies now receive 25% less in funding from the county than they did in '08. Reduced contributions have left companies from completing replacement of aging apparatus, equipment upgrades, station expansions, renovations. We need to restore pre-budget cut funding levels to the association, which amounts to $254,536. This will allow the companies the ability to fund the projects that they have had to delay. It is important to note the tremendous cost associated with fire and rescue apparatus and equipment. The majority of the apparatus and equipment within the department is purchased by these individual volunteer companies through donations and other fundraising efforts. This alone saves this county millions and millions of dollars. Again, thank you for your time. Thanks to Mr. Riley and staff for bringing this proposal forward. I ask that you pass the revenue proposal. In addition, I ask that you reinstate pre-budget cut funding levels to the Volunteer Association. Thank you.
Next, Mr. Riley.
Tim Price, Stonewall District.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. First of all, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for allowing me to speak with you tonight concerning our funding issues. Pardon me for the frog in my throat. I'd like to address 4 important issues that are vitally important to us, the volunteers. As each of you are aware, the fire and rescue services here in Frederick County have suffered budget cuts in excess of 25% since 2008. We respectfully request restoration of those funds plus 2 years of the previous budget cuts. Some reasons, restoration of these funds will assist with the operational budgets for each of the 11 county stations. For instance, the reserve funds in which the stations may have had have been expended over the past few years to cover some of the budget cuts that we've suffered. Now, these reserve funds were expended to maintain operations with upkeep of equipment and facilities. Now, the reason we're requesting back the 2 years of previous budget cuts is in previous budget cycles, Frederick County has funded the Fire and Rescue Association's Capital Improvements Fund. Now, these funds were transferred after a vote of the member stations and approved by the Board of Supervisors to the operational funds of the stations in an effort to reduce, again, the effective budget cuts. Now, these funds are held in an account and customarily used to assist stations with replacement of equipment and updates to an aging fleet. Item 2 is restoration for the career development. Now, as each of you are aware, I represent the Volunteer Fire and Rescue Association. However, as I've stated many times over the past 3 years, we are a combined department, and as such, we rely on each other to perform our duties. Therefore, I believe it is important and necessary for me to discuss the career development program with you. Now, over the past few budget cycles, this program has been suspended, and the suspension of this vitally important program has left our career personnel actively seeking employment and advancement opportunities outside of our county. This in turn leaves us shorthanded and lacking the necessary experienced and skilled emergency personnel. Gentlemen, in essence, we've become a training ground for other jurisdictions. 3, the public safety positions. As I stated earlier, we operate as a combined department, and we do rely on each other, career, volunteer, to get our equipment and personnel to the emergency scene. Now, it is our belief that we are in need of additional qualified personnel to staff most of our stations in this county. We need to do that to provide the level of service that our citizens have come to expect and deserve. And with regard to those levels, I would defer that to Chief Lenneberg. Vehicles. With respect to the staff and ALS chase units, each of the current vehicles are expected to respond at a moment's notice to any given emergency throughout the county. And I am almost done, so it is our understanding that while the current number may be adequate, there are no units in reserve. So if one or more experience mechanical issues, well, it could pose a delay in patient care. We can't afford that. So finally, thank you again, gentlemen, for allowing me time to discuss these issues with you on behalf of the Volunteer Fire and Rescue Services in Frederick County.
Next, Mr. Riley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Keith Licklider, Opequon District.
Good evening. My name is Keith Licklider. I'm currently a resident of Stevens City where I own my own house. However, I am standing before you tonight as a teacher of the Frederick County Public School System. Winston Churchill once said, "We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give." I will read that one more time. We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. 3 years ago, I accepted a teaching job in Frederick County Public Schools. Many people warned me not to go into teaching for money. They said, "You will never get rich." While this certainly is true, I want you to reflect on Winston Churchill's quote. Teachers, along with firefighters, police officers, and other government employees, offer invaluable services to the community. As a teacher, I spend many hours outside my contractual hours, working on lesson plans, coaching, sponsoring club activities, or volunteering to ensure that my students will be prepared to succeed in the future. While I love my job in Frederick County, it is becoming quite difficult for me to maintain my bills with a stagnant paycheck. If things continue the way they are, the only way for myself and others to get a raise in pay is to switch to another school system, which means we lose a lot of talented teachers. If you're appreciative of your current teachers and other Frederick County employees, I ask that you give us a sign of good faith and allocate the necessary funds so that we may receive a one-time bonus. I appreciate your time and willingness to consider my offer. Thank you.
Next, Mr. Riley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Alyssa Schwartz, City of Winchester.
I'm sorry, I have no comments to add.
Lance Moss, City of Winchester.
Hi, I'm Lance Moss. I come to you as my employer is Frederick County Public Schools. I'm the worst case scenario that Ms. Kirk referred to earlier. I'm in my 5th year of teaching. I got a job with Frederick County right out of college. I'm 26 years old. This is what teaching does to you. No, it's not true. No, the truth is when I was just early 30s, I was coaching my son soccer, and I was having a pretty good time with it. And one of the parents made this offhand remark, "Mr. Moss, you're good at this. You should go be a teacher." I had a good job at the time delivering beer, an important job at the time delivering beer. And just on a whim, I said, I had recently read an article about a lack of men in schools. And I said, you know what, I'm going to do that. And my wife said, fine. We were in a position where I could do that. And I had a great time. For the first 2 years, I graduated from Lord Fairfax with 4.0 All-American and moved on to Shepherd, where I had a little rougher time, ran into the bubble that we all did, and had to get a job. I actually worked full-time 3rd shift for 3 years to get through that. I go to work at 11, get off at 7 a.m., take a shower in Sheets' bathroom, go off to college and do it. Student teaching was tough. I student taught at Gainsborough, the old Gainsborough. Last year it was open. If it wasn't for them helping me, I wouldn't be here. I guess I'm telling you that because I'm letting you know that I've been through a whole lot to be here begging for a few dollars. I'll go ahead and read this letter so that I don't ramble anymore. The truth is, there should be no reason for me to speak tonight. This is not the time to talk about any systemic changes. The fact is that I signed on as a new teacher with Frederick County 5 years ago with the confidence that I would receive increases in compensation as published. That has not happened. I am making the exact same salary as I did my first year. If Frederick County has any opportunity to rectify this situation in even the smallest way, it should happen with no hesitation. It's a matter of honor on the part of Frederick County. My 5-year anniversary means that my teaching license is up for renewal. To qualify, I have 3 more college credits I've got to go earn. That's more time away from my family and more money out of my pocket just to keep my job. Exactly 50% of Ayler's 6th grade core teachers this year left me. They went off for better opportunities. That's after several years of exceptional school performance with those teachers. That should be unacceptable and embarrassing to everyone. Personally, I haven't registered for that college class, and I haven't totally decided if I will. I love teaching. I've enjoyed starting our popular chess club, teaching free guitar lessons, helping start a talent show, coaching cross country, all kinds of things that I've done with your children that I enjoy and that I will miss if I do decide to move on. I'll miss watching every one of them. It'll be painful. But the fact is the system takes advantage of teachers' passion for the job, and that's got to end. Passion does not pay the bills. And sooner or later, what do? You're 5 years in. At what point do you cut your losses? I look ahead, 6 years, 7 years. At what point do you say, okay, I'm a big boy, I got to go make some big boy money. I love the kids, but I need a real job. I read a great article about giving the money back to Frederick County. I think you should do that in the form of helping invest in both teachers and in all kinds of public service. I appreciate your time.
Next, Mr. Riley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The last person that signed up is Debbie Berg, Back Creek District.
Debbie Berg, Back Creek District. At the February 8th working session for the board and the Finance Committee, Administrator Riley suggested the board consider a 5-cent increase in real estate tax. He went on to say the board could always reduce the tax rate and the budget following a public hearing. I'm here tonight to ask for this tax rate reduction. While many feel school personnel need a raise, they need to consider the fact that despite higher health insurance expenses, the taxpayers buffered any increase in their premiums. Second, retirement funds were provided, plus extra money to offset taxes that would have been owed due to this benefit. They were also provided by the taxpayers. As Frederick County residents pay higher property taxes compared to other locales and the highest meal tax allowed in the state of Virginia, I asked for lower real estate tax rates. I also ask school and county personnel to be patient. When our county recovers, new businesses and homeowners will help revenue income, and property assessments will go up. This greater revenue will be available to all without a tax increase. Thank you.
That concludes the sign-up, Mr. Riley.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Is there anyone else who wanted to speak? Please come forward, give your name, magisterial district, please, and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Thanks for the opportunity that I failed to sign up. First time to your meeting. My name is Dexter Bartee from the Shawnee District. I can cut my comments very short because I totally endorse the last speaker's position on the tax increase. We're all homeowners in this county. It's a wonderful county, but our property taxes keeps going back up. With the reduction in our property taxes, it gives us all more money to spend, increase revenues for the businesses, increases tax revenues for the county, and it's just a domino effect. We all have lost money in these hard times, recession, cost inflation, price of gas. I estimated my taxes at the end of 2010, I lost $4,000 in spendable income, and I'm living on a retirement salary. No cost increases. I'm a retired federal employee. We have not had a cost of living either because of hard times. So we've made the adjustments. I strongly would like to ask the board, with the surplus money through your good budget management, that you look very cautious on how you spend this money, because I don't see the recession, call it whatever you like, of changing. And I would say through the next 2 or 3 years, let's keep the belt buckles tight, all work together to get through this, and hope that the future brings better economic to everyone. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else?
My name is Derek Rinker. I'm not a resident of the county. I have been a teacher for this county for 12 years. I've coached sports for this county for 8 years. I've been the lead science teacher for my building for 7 years. To say that I've been patient is beyond
Sir,
what we've been.
I
I'm
caution
sorry.
you to address
Okay,
the board.
I apologize. To say that I need to be more patient is beyond what I've been expected to do. 5 years without a pay raise. 5 years without a step. 5 years without a cost of living adjustment. In the last couple years, Lance referred to it, he lost 50% of his staff to other counties. That situation is happening all across our schools. And as a result, these experienced teachers, you're creating a situation in which this experience disappears. A gentleman earlier spoke about we are a training, a breeding ground for other counties. It's becoming that. It's unfortunate because as the leaders, you're expected to serve and protect your constituents. Earlier you mentioned that you were upset that the state would ask voters for their voice in a referendum. I was very disappointed to hear that. We have the right to speak, as well as the right to be paid for what we do. We put in tremendous hours. We make a great deal of sacrifices. We care for the children. They are your future. You need to take care of your teachers, your police officers, and your fire officers. Thank you.
For the record, would you say where you do live?
I live in Hedgesville, West Virginia.
Anyone else? Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing. Mr. Riley?
Yes, sir.
With great reluctance here, as I read the announcement for the public hearing, it didn't seem to say the right thing, and I didn't catch it earlier. Can we all look at it to make sure it's worded properly? I don't believe there's any capital transfers to the school operating fund.
There should be a comma between capital and transfers. And that should fix your problem. It's for the capital.
That cleans it up. If attorney will pass judgment, I'd much like to dispose of this item this evening and not get hung up on this, but understand what I'm saying? And I'm sorry, when I read it, it bounced at me, and when I said it, it bounced at me. When I read it, it did not. We all knew what we were talking about, but I want to make sure that and the resolution likewise does not say that. It does seem like a comma is a minor change.
I think, Mr. Chairman, I would agree it is a minor change, and I think that even without the comma, that sentence still has the "and." I guess it's the fourth or fifth word from the end, so what it ends up referring to is an appropriation of $3.9 million for capital transfers to the fund and one-time salary supplements. I mean, I think
I don't believe it gets there, not the way you just read it. The comma does it.
The comma does it, yeah. The capital is on the general fund side. It's the 700 and some thousand. The transfers is the amount needed to the schools for the 3%. I have to appropriate the entire amount in the general fund to transfer it to the school operating fund.
Well, I'll go back on what I said, is I think indeed the comma is a minor change. I think it's acceptable.
We like to rely on legal opinion, so we know what it was supposed to accomplish and what it's supposed to say. I reluctantly had to say that I had a little worry here.
I think we're okay with it as
If we
is.
adopt the resolution, if that's what comes, the comma can go in there and we can all be happy?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Now, what's before you, I think, is with the comma. Now, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor DeHaven.
I move
Thank
for
you.
adoption of the resolution with the comma inserted between capital and transfers in the last underlined paragraph.
All right, we have a motion to approve the amendments to the budget and the resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Supervisor Spicer. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Lofton.
Mr. Chairman, I understand the good intentions of the proposed budget amendment, but believe we would be making an ill-advised rush to only partially address the issues that are before us. Excuse me a minute, technical difficulty. And I believe these issues are germane to this conversation. In my opinion, the first issue to be addressed is that of how do we undo the tax increase that was imposed on all taxpayers that in part created a surplus that we are now proposing to partially spend. Based on our best estimates of anticipated revenue and expenditures, it's coupled with the state-mandated last-minute contribution for employee pension benefits, we imposed a 7% plus tax increase on all taxpayers. That increase does not go away with the discovery of a surplus. How many of the taxpayers have had any raise or bonus over the last several years, or have employers actually reduced benefits to workers? I honestly can't say, because I haven't talked to every employer. The increase in gas and grocery prices have taken their toll on all workers' wages in these difficult times. There's no disputing that. Some taxpayers are underemployed, still looking to find that higher-paying job that makes use of their skills and education. And so now, we as a government want to spend the surplus of extra revenue and decreased revenues, and we want to find a way to spend it, albeit for a commendable reason, but I think that's not the way to go right now. I ask again, where is the proposal to return some of this good fortune to those who are in large part responsible for this economic windfall by payment of higher property taxes and the sales, meals, and other taxes that we pay and they pay and we collect? We have, in my opinion, a fine group of employees, and we certainly must do what we can to show our appreciation for their dedication and talented service to our constituents and their children. Mr. Riley has appropriately pointed out that without true raises to salaries, not these one-time bonuses or supplements that we have given over the last several years, the employees are experiencing length of service compressions as well as promotion underpayment. Another one-time payout will not fix that. At our last meeting, I advocated waiting until the beginning of the next budget cycle to address these spending proposals. This, in my mind, allows us the opportunity to see what the future may hold and better plan how to allocate this newfound revenue. Perhaps instead of a one-time bonus, we could actually give our employees true raises and close compression and promotion gaps. If so, that can be done retroactively. Perhaps we can see it as prudent to address some of our long-standing capital needs. Perhaps we can increase funding for our schools, public safety, and other departments in the coming fiscal year. We don't know that yet, but in my opinion, taking this quick action will limit our ability to construct a realistic, conservative, and fiscally responsible budget and to determine how and if we should spend these enhanced revenues. But first and foremost, I think we should address the increased tax burden on all citizens, as that stands out as an issue of fairness and also a glaring contradiction to my belief in smaller and less costly government. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Spicer.
Thank you. This is a difficult issue. and everyone that has spoken tonight has spoken with passion and fortitude. It's clear that everyone who has an opinion on this has a very deep-seated opinion. My personal opinion is that we don't have the luxury to be able to wait until the next budgeting cycle. I think that the school teachers, firefighters, and sheriff's deputies that serve this community are hanging on by fingernails. And I think that any supplement to their salary, however it's gauged, will be a very necessary and timely relief. I am not unmindful that the citizens of Frederick County have experienced difficult times over these last 5 and 6 years. And I believe that as times get better, and I believe that they are going to, we are going to have some flexibility next year to, I believe, again, lower the real property tax rates back to where they were. But in the interim, it is my belief that the reasonable requests of the teachers that we've heard from and those that we haven't heard from but certainly have a voice should be listened to. And for that reason, I will vote in favor of the proposal this evening.
Other discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Collins.
But for us raising taxes because of the VRS mismanagement by Richmond, I think the 7 of us would be sitting up here clapping our hands and jubilant. I've never seen so much good news bring so much angst. $13 million, only $1.5 million of that came from taxes. And had we not raised taxes, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation. My parents both were educators, and they educated educators. I was a public service employee for Frederick County as well. And talking to everyone, I've spoken to lots of individuals in the school systems, talked to individuals in the fire service, talked to individuals in the sheriff's department, in the court system, and everyone understands that things were tight, times were tough. Frederick County is a fiscally conservative county. And we've told them year after year, we know you're hurting, we know it's bad, just wait, be patient with us. Please don't leave Frederick County. And we've lost more and more staff, we've lost more and more teachers. And no teacher, no firefighter, no police officer has been said here tonight, got that job, spent this money to go to school, continue to get their master's degree, continue their education, because they thought they were going to become the next Donald Trump. And Mr. Chairman, I think that to say we have a $13 million surplus, $5 million of that, by the way, is because the county employees saved us money. Not because of a tax increase, not because of some great new federal regulation, but because the Frederick County employees, the staff, the constitutional officers and their staff cut, sacrificed, they were able to save us $5 million. So I think to say, and I agree with Mr. Lofton, I would rather see a salary increase. I'd rather see the economy be much more stable. I'd rather have some happier, shiny things on the horizon. I don't see it, and that's the reason I'm a little concerned about doing anything in the long term, but I believe that we need to do this now, the way it is, and not wait another year, because that's what we've told everyone. That's what we've promised the employees. None of this 3.9 is coming from taxes. I know it all comes out of the same pot, but I despise raising taxes to give people a pay raise. I think that's just inherently wrong. But that's not what we're doing here tonight, and I'm sorry if anybody feels that way, but that's not what I agreed to, and that's not what I think we're doing here. So I'm in favor of going forward with the proposal as it is.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, I was prepared to make some comments, but Mr. Lofton has covered mine adequately, so I have nothing really to say.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Give everyone a chance first. Anyone else? Supervisor Fisher.
This is sort of a tough one. I think over the last several years, staff, administrators have done an excellent job in holding back in some really tough economic times, stuff that came down at us. I think, we can sit here and talk about surpluses or expenses or budgets or whatever, but staff has done a remarkable job in holding the line on budget, not overspending, and coming in with savings on that. The one thing gets my blood pressure up is when I start thinking about the state of Virginia and what they do to us locally, and we end up taking the brunt of the attack on it. They mandate the VRS thing at us. We react to it, and then they come along with a surplus, and do you think they would send any of that down here to offset what they just did to us? I look down this list of things that we have needs for, what our staff and teachers have been through, and it's catch-22 in a lot of ways. A gentleman from my district, I've met him before and have tremendous respect for him. But I believe in my heart, I have got to say that I support this. I need to support this resolution. And I believe that we need to allow Mr. Riley to look at these needs that are on this list, because we can't take care of all of them, but I believe he needs to take care of some of these items that we have on here as they relate to our safety of our citizens, or we'd be remiss in doing that. So I will support this resolution.
Anyone else? You're up.
Mr. Chairman, let me be clear. When I say the next budget cycle, I'm not talking about July 2013. We will begin our budget deliberations later this year, early next year. So I'm talking about the first of the year, and I don't know, that to me, if I felt like I could wait a couple more months and get an actual raise as opposed to a supplement, I might support that. So that's what I'm talking about. When we look at, and as Supervisor Fisher has aptly pointed out, the state will let us know what they're going to do to us probably in August of next year. And so we have to make our best guess. But I still say that if we took the time, if we deliberated this, if we looked at the revenues that are coming in next year, what our expenses might be next year, we could cover a lot of this and perhaps, again, give our employees a true raise, not a one-time supplement.
Any other discussion? I will take that as it's time to vote. Everyone remember what the motion is before them. All right, Supervisor Lofton.
No.
Supervisor Haven.
Aye.
Supervisor Ewing.
No.
Supervisor Fisher.
Aye.
Supervisor Collins.
Aye.
Supervisor Spicer.
Aye.
Chairman votes aye and the motion passes. Moving on, discussion of the Comprehensive Policy Plan Amendment, Lord Fairfax Community College, Middletown Sewer and Water Service Area. Go ahead, Mr. Reddy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Board of Supervisors. We're here this evening as a discussion item on this comprehensive plan amendment request. It's the first one of this year, and if you recall at your last board meeting, a resolution was passed directing the Comprehensive Plans Committee and Planning Commission the ability to look at this request. As we know, the community college is looking to expand its facilities on its current property and also on adjacent property which is not owned by the Commonwealth of Virginia but owned by the Lord Fairfax Community College Foundation. Now, directly adjacent to the community college is, of course, Middletown Elementary School, another institutional use in this particular area. The approach that was taken with this is to look at the sewer and water service area. As you know, the SWASA is historically been used by Frederick County to determine where public water and sewer service may be provided, and that is with the Board of Supervisors approval, and that is done through the comprehensive plan. Most recently, the 2030 comprehensive plan and amendments there too. So what we wanted to look at in approaching this was just that. Could we do an amendment to the plan and that would address this particular request, that would reinforce the values that we have in our plan, the sewer and water service area, but look specifically at the needs of the community college. So on the screen to your left, you will see the area, if you will, draw little bit of a reference here for us. We'll see, of course, this is the existing community college in this location, Interstate 81 and exit 302 there on Interstate 81. The boundary is Route 11 in that general location. So that gives us some idea as to the area that we're actually looking at. What we wanted to do was establish this Middletown, Lord Fairfax, Sewer and Water Service area so the current and future institutional uses could continue to get public water and sewer and would allow public water and sewer on those privately owned properties down in this area. So the accompanying text and the map that is part of your agenda hopefully gets us in that direction. It includes approximately 138 acres, 5 parcels of land that have been initially included within the sewer and water service area. The map that's on the screen to your left, which is part of your agenda, this is the map that would be, in the first phase, included in the comprehensive plan. The green line representing the boundary of the sewer and water service area, again around the community college, the foundation property, and the Middletown Elementary School. Aerial photograph, of course, if we have any questions about the actual land use that's occurring down in that area. When we took this to the Comprehensive Plan Committee, we wanted to look not just at the property, but also the surrounding properties. Now, timing being as it is, there's quite a number of nuts to crack, if you will, with that one, with the adjacent properties. So what the Plan Committee did was break it into 2 phases, if you will. This initial phase, which addressed the institutional uses and the need of the community college to move forward with some student union building, some accommodations for the growing number of users that they have out there, but recognize that we need to continue with this study for those areas around. That study area being identified in red, and as you can tell, there's 100 acres plus to the north of the community college, and a good number of properties on the west side of Route 11, backing up to the railroad tracks. So again, the approach of the Comp Plan Committee was to do just that, to break it into 2 phases. I want to stop here, if you will, and pause a little bit, because the sewer and water service area reflects the fact that that's the location for public water and sewer. We know that the Frederick County Sanitation Authority is the entity that is responsible for that here in Frederick County, and therefore within the sewer and water service area. Now, the community college, of course, currently obtains its water directly from the city of Winchester, and its wastewater goes all the way down to the town of Middletown in their facility. This would continue to be the approach taken, but ultimately, if necessary, the Sanitation Authority would have the ability to work within this sewer and water service area. So by recognizing this text of the land use plan, and the policy, if you will, the map that goes with it with the institutional land use, that gets us to where we are at in this first phase. So again, 138 acres is what is being recommended through the Comp Plan Committee at this point to move forward with a sewer and water service designation, and that we would continue to study the balance of the area to see if any more property should be included in the sewer and water service area. Again, the map that's on the screen to your left is, if you will, the affected properties or the properties that have been designated with that institutional land use, approximately about 138 acres. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board may have. This is a discussion item this evening, and if we get the go-ahead, we'll also be having discussion with the Planning Commission. If we get the go-ahead, we'll move forward to public hearing. Mr. Chris Boyes is here this evening with us representing the community college, if you have any questions of him and their current plans with the expansion of the students' facilities on campus.
Let me be clear of what you're seeking direction from the board. Phase 1, you really don't need to do any more work, or you do?
We do not. As you see on the screen.
We would head to public hearing process, and we would see it as soon as it works its way through that.
Yes, sir.
And the land that's there is already zoned higher education?
The land that's zoned right there right now is zoned rural areas. The college is a permitted use in that district. In addition, it's on property that's owned by the state of Virginia and therefore preempted from local control.
Would we then see a rezoning to higher education?
That's a possibility in the future, and the college has looked at that, but presently they don't need to because it's allowed in the zoning district
And I guess RA still allows higher education, doesn't it? Okay, so we may or may not. Then on the balance, you would study and what, we would see what you came up with, or you would enter the public hearing phase as soon as you finish your study? What do you see happening?
We would enter the public hearing phase on what's on the screen to your left immediately. The balance, we would go and work with the property owners, work in a little bit more detail with the town of Middletown, the city of Winchester, and bring something back through the committee, if you will, Comp Plan Committee and Planning Commission, for a future public hearing on the balance.
So we would see it before it went to public hearing?
That would be on the balance that is outside of the area on your screen to your left right now.
Does everybody hear that the same way I hear it? We're not going to see phase one again. It's going to go to public hearing. Phase two, we'll see it again before it goes to the public hearing process.
That's correct.
Questions on the presentation? I think they're looking for direction from the board if this is an okay strategy. I opened up the dialogue, I think, on additional property, was really anxious to see if somebody told me it was a good idea or a bad idea. So I guess somebody said maybe.
I think it is a valid idea. In working with the college, very clearly they have some time constraints that they want to move forward with a project that, I think everybody's supportive of.
Supervisor DeHaven?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you good.
Has Middletown considered phase two at all? Do we have any input at all from them?
At this point, we've had brief initial discussions with the town of Middletown and the city of Winchester about how the negotiations with the community college. We will pursue that further with them once we get into the phase two and the additional land area.
Can you say with certainty how the elementary school is served, water and sewer?
It's my understanding that it's served, you can see the aerial photograph actually, with a line through this property into the town of Middletown.
Water and sewer, or just sewer?
City of Winchester is my understanding.
Pardon me?
Water from the line on Route 11 with the city of Winchester.
Okay.
But I certainly will get into more.
And Middletown sewer?
Of that.
It's not a pump and haul or anything like that?
Don't believe so.
So you can't be for sure, but that's what you think?
That's my understanding.
I'd like for somebody to find out for me for sure.
Absolutely will do.
Supervisor Lofton?
I was wondering, Mr. Ruddy, if you could throw up the slide that shows phase two of this to show the extent to which we're thinking about. Yes,
that's probably the better one.
Right. So we're looking at the green for this one, which we won't see again. And then the red would be the expanded area that we're looking at.
That's right. I would envision if we bring it back, it's not like we're not going to look at the green area, because that is something we'll have recognized as being an institutional land use. So if anything is appropriate to come in conjunction with this, then we would have to balance that community college and hopefully enhance what's occurring in that area.
Questions?
Just one quick question. Mr. Ruddy, the northernmost line for phase two, is that going down beside the motel that's there?
It is actually, yes. Just to the north of the existing single-family residences, to the south of the plantation?
Yeah, the plantation or whatever it is.
Supervisor DeHaven?
Just for clarification, comprehensive plans and programs are the only folks that have looked at phase two so far?
Yes, sir.
With staff's help?
Excuse me. They've looked at this whole thing, if you will, at their meeting on Monday night and had some discussion. We're very comfortable with the phase one area. They recognized phase two was out there, but didn't really get into too much discussion beyond saying uses that would be supportive of the college and their continued operation.
Thank you.
Some preliminary indication, if there's good reasons why it's not a good idea. I hope there's an alert sent up. Question, I don't know. Supervisor Fisher?
One of the things I would be interested in, I think the phase one, as far as water and sewer capacities with education are minimal, but when you get to phase two, I think the committee needs to look at capacities on sewer and water, how that affects the total discharge permits county-wise, because there are limits on what can be discharged with phosphorus and nitrogen. I'm just be very curious that they look at all of these capacities and engage the sanitation authority in this along with the city of Winchester in discussion.
Somebody should confirm if my recollection is correct, but I believe that for a long time now, we have been very reluctant to allow development in the county to be served by the city water system directly. We have avoided that. I don't know how else to say it, but if it couldn't be served for the county, we've had a reluctance, even if the water came from the city. If they were city customers, does anybody else look at it that way? Am I correct? So that is an obstacle here because unless the sanitation authority can have a special contract with the city for a meter, I'd probably choke at the end on my own idea about the city serving county residents directly.
If I may, I think, Mike, one of the things maybe to explore again is the option of Middletown actually serving that property with their agreement with to buy city water and resell it. So that might be an option there.
Yeah, I think there are a couple of options. In talking with the sanitation authority, obviously they have been paying attention to the big picture of what's occurring, but have certainly deferred in the meantime to the town of Middletown and their wastewater operations in the city of Winchester and of course their water service. Now the community college themselves have a relationship with both entities.
I'm not speaking about the community college or the elementary school. They were different situations.
But again, that northern area that we're looking at, phase 2, could potentially be served with Middletown.
Probably even though I asked the question, if it came to me and there was no way but a city contract with the property owners, I probably couldn't get there. So.
Mr. Chairman, that's part of my issues is going to be, looking at what's the bottom line rate that you end up with, no matter what the options are, because we still have some issues with some county citizens paying some ridiculous rates that they're being charged. So I'm kind of looking at that's why I'm saying there needs to be discussion on all parties to come up with what are the best options, and so we can look at the whole picture.
I think it's been positive to hear support for the phase 1 in that current scenario, but we will certainly carry that concern for the phase 2, particularly with the water and sewer and the SWAZA designation into the study.
I don't think anybody's talking about undoing anything. We just don't need to create more monsters. What did you want? I see a strong consensus to go ahead as you've outlined. Do you need a vote?
I believe we're okay with the consensus of the...
Send the phase 1 to public hearing. Would that help you?
Would be clear and helpful.
Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion by Supervisor DeHaven. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Second by Supervisor Lofton. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right, phase 1 goes to public hearing, and a consensus that the appropriate people continue to investigate phase 2. Is that good enough?
Excellent.
All right. Thank you
very much.
All right, board liaison reports. Are there any?
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Collins.
Informed by the Tourism Committee that we have made the front page of the Virginia Festival's fall outline for all the festivals in Virginia for September, October, November, and December. And on page 9 is a map of Virginia where Winchester is prominently listed in pink with all the festivals we have coming up in the near future. So I want to let you know that the state of Virginia Tourism Board feels that we should be on the front page of their festivals outline.
Do you have any idea about the distribution?
Statewide. It's in all the rest areas, as well as most of the visitor centers and most of the towns and counties in the state have this prominently posted.
Any other liaison reports?
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Lofton.
If I may, I would like to thank the Extension Leadership Council for hosting us tonight and their presentation. I think that gives you a good idea of agriculture is still thriving, I believe, in Frederick County, and it can get even better with the great programs that the Extension Service is offering. And so again, I would like to offer my thanks to them for hosting us tonight and giving us that informative program.
You're the liaison, correct?
Yes, sir, and if you have any questions,
Another board
please.
member who would like to make a motion to have Mr. Riley draw up a brief resolution of appreciation and second it, even though Mr. Lofton brought it up, so that he doesn't have to be the one to do it.
I'd so move, Mr.
All
Chairman.
right, we have a motion by Supervisor Ewing, second by Supervisor DeHaven. Mr. Riley, could you draw up a resolution of appreciation to them?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
I hope you.
That works for me. Thank you very much. I'm sure they will appreciate it. And as you heard, if you have any questions, just ask me and I will get you an answer.
All right, I'm sorry, I didn't take a vote. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no? All right. Anything else?
That'll do it. Thank you.
Lofton motion.
Citizen comments. Is there anyone here who'd like to speak to the board on any topic? Seeing no one, will close the citizen comment portion of the meeting. Board of Supervisors comments. Obviously, the topic that I'd like to bring up here is the draft letters that you saw on the, that long title. Mr. Riley, give me the title. We need to shorten that, by the way. I'm surprised no board member made a comment about it.
How we can make Frederick County more business-friendly.
All right, this is the committee of citizens that we have been talking about forming to study local government and see if we can make Frederick County government more business-friendly. Sometimes I like to say, how can government get out the way? But it's almost a threatening topic and at the same time exciting. What you have, what's distributed to you that I'd like a little talk about this evening is whether these two letters look appropriate. It's not the actual kickoff, but with your help, we need to have a larger list. Some people ask how many people we need. We think we need an inventory of names of upwards of 75. We're hoping that we'll come up with, Mr. Riley and I thought 15 people per committee and hope that 10 show.
Yes, sir.
Something along those lines. But if we were so blessed as to have too many people say they'd be willing to serve, then we can sit down and talk about it. But on the first shot, I just want to make sure we get enough names of people that we ought to think about. So part of me said, you know, John and I have been working on a list, but that it was not really wise to distribute that. I don't want anybody's feelings hurt or whatever. I think if you can think of somebody that you think should be on the list, we'll make sure they're there. Then we'll find out who's willing, and then we'll have some type of a work session or something and let you help us pick out the folks. I want to avoid any embarrassment to anybody as much as I can. Are we ready to go with a mailing to a list of people that you help us come up with?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure where this is in the packet. Was this emailed or was this placed in our?
It came email. I didn't get it out very early, so I don't think it's in on the iPad. Is it, Mr. Riley?
No.
You would have to pick it up off an email. I'm sorry. Yes, sir. Mr. Riley, do you have it so that you can read the introductory letter?
I do not. Well, hang on a second.
I can get it on email, I think.
If you guys don't want me on the board anymore, you can just tell me. I'll just leave.
Mr. Chairman, I have it up. I'd be happy to give it to Mr.
Would you read it, sir?
Sure. Dear insert name, would you like to help make Frederick County government more business friendly? In this economic climate, it is vitally important that local governments create the catalyst for businesses in their communities to grow and prosper. With this statement in mind, the Frederick County Board of Supervisors is forming a Frederick County Business Climate Assessment Citizen Committee to evaluate the current processes and procedures being used by local government. John Riley, County Administrator, will chair the committee. This effort is not intended to be a criticism of what local government is currently doing, but a search for and understanding of the ways that Frederick County government can be more responsive and better meet the needs of new and existing businesses in today's world. We are looking for approximately 25 to 50 representatives from the business community to assist us in this endeavor. As a leader within the business community, we have identified you as a potential committee member. It is our intent to divide the committee representatives into 4 subcommittees to address the following topics: land use and development, taxes, assessment, fees, and services, local revenue sources, and business, large and small, attraction and retention. The subcommittees will meet to study their respective topics, and once the work is completed, they will report out to the full committee. A final compilation of the subcommittee reports and their respective comments and recommendations as adopted by the full committee will be presented to the Frederick County Board of Supervisors. We envision this process taking no more than 6 months to complete. We recognize there are numerous demands on your time. However, we believe your participation in this process will be valuable not only to Frederick County government, but to your business and to you as a business leader within the community. The Frederick County Board of Supervisors looks forward to this opportunity to listen, understand, and embrace change as warranted. Please give this request your serious consideration. We respectfully request a response by close of business and date to be inserted. You may respond to John R. Riley, Jr., County Administrator, or via email.
So what I'd like, if you're all, the letter is okay, is to authorize Mr. Riley to send this to whatever list of names we have at some predetermined future date, which I'd like to see be next week sometime, so we can get started figuring out how long it's going to take us to have a pool of people. When they actually start to do something, I don't know. You might try to squeeze in a kickoff before the holidays and work afterwards. I just don't know yet. I don't know how hard it's going to be. But I'm anxious to get this letter out to whomever you and Mr. Riley and I can put on the list. So would it work for you to help us by giving us the names of anybody you think would be good by, say, next Wednesday, and then let Mr. Riley get this thing out?
I think it's a great letter. I have no issues with it. My one question, though, is do we want to limit it to Frederick County citizens, or do we want to expand the list of potential participants to people who have business interests in Frederick County, whether or not they live here?
Well, it's an interesting issue. Mr. Riley early identified the power companies as possible players. I would say if you had an interest, send a name to Mr. Riley, and you know, I'd hate to worry about too much about something that got submitted, but then they didn't want to do it. I'd rather you gave him, I have a preference for Frederick County citizens, you give him who you want to see serve on it, and then we'll see if we end up with that person wanting to do it, and we'll deal with it then. We've got to get together and find out how to deal with a list of people that said they were okay somehow. Mr. Riley and I haven't quite figured out how to help you with that, but we're working on it.
I think that the biggest assistance the board can give is list of names. And that can help us get to where we need to be, and then I don't think it would be a problem for me to notify you that this is what we have, and we're going to go ahead and send the letter.
Yeah, I think at the end, I was trying to finesse you a little bit. Mr. Riley and I have been working on this, but if you turn in a name, I want it to be your name, not our name, if you understand what I'm saying. I gave you the list, you said, "Oh, that looks like a good list. You know, where's your buy-in?" I'd like you to turn in the names. And I don't mean that Mr. Riley and I are working as secretive, but I hope you do come up with the same names that we've been thinking might be good candidates. So, whether that was a good idea or not, that's where we are. Can we get this done by next Wednesday? John, does that kind of work out?
Yes, sir.
It'll take you a bit to round up the addresses.
Yes, sir. So we're going to say have names to Mr. Riley by Friday? Is that what your goal is?
By next Wednesday.
Names by next Wednesday.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And then he will get them out as soon as he can. I don't know how hard the addresses will be to locate.
So if we have the address, it's best to send that with the name?
It would help. Huh. I had one person, I only knew where they worked. I didn't know what their name was. I don't know if they were able to track that one down or not.
Be most helpful.
That one was probably a special challenge.
I very much support this effort. I think it's an excellent idea. We've wanted to do it for a long time.
Well, it'll be so good as the participants who get involved in it, and I have a lot of faith in the citizenry.
It's really important to make the effort.
The only problem.
So, is that okay?
The only problem I have with it is you came up with the idea instead of me.
I didn't come up with it all by myself.
Oh, didn't you?
No, I won't take credit for that. I floated parts of it before. Some of you gave me positive feedback, which fed something, and no,
I think it's a great
I thank
idea.
you for that compliment, but it needs to be a board thing, and you need to feel like it is.
It's a great idea, though.
And we need to figure out how you want to continue to feel like that, so when that result comes in, you feel good about it. So next step is names that you like, names that you trust, names that you think are good citizenry. So we're okay? And Mr. Riley, I think that's all we need to do with that. I think anybody that wants to know a little bit more about what we're talking about because they heard it this evening, it's okay to show them the draft letter. And you can, I guess when you figure out that you have good enough addresses, then you can fill in that next date.
Yes, sir.
Because they ought to have a time to respond to you, at least a week. But I don't know when that starts. I think it'll be next Wednesday, he gets your names. Then he goes into address mode if he doesn't have them. Then he's ready to mail, and he should give people at least a week to respond. It's my best guess, something along those lines.
Mr. Chairman, were we still looking to begin this process during the holiday? Were we still looking to begin this process during the holiday period? One of my concerns is people may be interested in.
I think we need to move along personally with how long each step takes as we get down to, if that's right up against Christmas, then no. But I think if you could squeeze in a meet and greet beforehand, get to work after the holidays, it would be a good idea. You don't want too long in between the time you said yes and nobody ever contacts you.
I was just hoping there wasn't too much meat expected before the first of the year.
So they're gonna drive the bus. We aren't. So, but I think it looks to me like there could well be, for good measure, a need to get these folks, once they're figured out, together before the holidays and say, meet yourself. Meet your fellow committee people. But I look to Mr. Riley for a lot of that counsel too. But I think we heard you that we don't want to expect people to do a lot of work during the holidays. Okay. And I think those are the only comments I heard. The citizen and county or the art. So we are together and we forge forward. All right. Mr. Riley, we've been trying to figure out how to get to each milestone. I think we passed where we wanted to?
Yes, sir, you're fine.
Okay. Then Supervisor Ewing.
Well, I've got an item before I do my usual. Back 1st of June, maybe in June sometime, the board discussed setback requirements for accessory structures in RA rural areas, 165-401.07. I thought that was coming back to the board for further discussion, but it seems to have died. I don't know where it's buried.
Is that part of the bigger legislation?
But I would like to see this be brought back up for some consideration. I'm getting some requests from residents.
Let's pass it around.
No, that'd be
pass this down to staff so you can see what he's looking at that way.
You can't read it.
You want to look at that and tell us where that is?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The discussion, as it revolved around accessory structures, revolved around the setbacks. And when we discussed it at this with the board, I think it was back in June, the accessory structure, there was a limit of about 600 square foot for a 24 by 24 garage being the example. And I think during the discussion here, we heard a couple of different views. One, the restriction was okay. The other with no restriction and the potential impacts that could bring on a property. So at that point, I think it was put on hold pending some further direction. And if we did receive that direction, we'd be happy to bring it back to the board and through the Planning Commission for discussion. I think it revolved again around the square footage of an accessory structure that would be allowed to be placed on a property meeting the principal structure setbacks. So it's a very straightforward thing, but there was a bit of discussion on both ends about the scope of what that could lead to. If there is a desire to bring it back, we'd be happy to bring it back.
I would like to see it come back to the board.
I think that what I remember the situation, and talking to the same person you're probably talking to, I wondered if that was the way to cure the issue. And I had great fears that a cure for this individual would be a one-size-fits-all in the code for every time we ran into this. So I wondered if there wasn't another way to fix it, because what this gentleman wants to do, barring more information, did not seem unreasonable to me. I didn't carry out scenarios that followed his action to see if it got you in trouble later, but that's where I was with it. What he wanted to do seemed reasonable. Was this the only way to let that happen? Because it's the only reason to look at it.
Well, yeah. To go a little further, if a person's got a 100-foot lot and they want to put an auxiliary building on there, you've got a 50-foot setback on the sides. So you're right in the middle, you can't put anything on there. So it's not only the size of the structure, but I think we need to look at the setbacks.
Now, if he's correct, it always comes up the same way with a certain common lot size, then perhaps we need a broad change. But
We'll look at it.
Yeah, we could certainly bring it back with a couple of different options and alternatives with scenarios. I think that would certainly work.
Anybody object to that? You may or may not remember what it was. Okay.
I'd appreciate it.
I'm done.
Everybody done? Mr. Chairman, move for adjournment.
We have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Mr. Chairman. Second by Supervisor Fisher. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no. Meeting adjourned.
I want to make sure I got it resolved.
They're on the Mississippi somewhere.
Oh, geez, well, they're doing all right.
They're on some riverboat gambling.
Spending your inheritance.
That's right. They said you don't need it.
Oh, well.
Sorry.
Dennis. Yep.
I wasn't gonna bring all this.
That's
I got Dexter Barty, I've met with him before, I respect him, he's a nice guy.
There's nothing positive.
Oh, well, can't win them all.
kind of how I feel.
Look it up online.
Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do.
College available hand in hand. It's like,